where can I use technology to automate what would cost more for a human being to do a poorer job less consistently, when I can hire a technology or purchase a system that basically will handle everything automatically indefinitely. And that's the technology we bring to the profession, because that's the goal we have for chiropractors. When you want to launch, launch. When you want to build, build. When you want to scale, scale. And when you want to exit, be able to exit. If you eventually want to exit, you need to have a business, not a job. And if you want to run a business, you need to have as much automated systems in place as you can set up and implement, so that it's as easy as possible for a buyer to come in and either hit the ground running or hire somebody to run the practice on their behalf. It is a common trend these days, whether it's chains of clinics buying practices and bringing them on, whether it's individual docs wanting to scale by buying satellite practices and hiring associates to go in them. That is a trend that will continue to focus on. And obviously many of the Remarkable Practice members are in the mindset of, okay, I launch, I build, I scale, and I exit. That's because you've built a business, you're thinking like a business person, and you've built something that actually can sell like a business, not something that says, well, if you come in and do as good as I did, maybe you can do as good as I did.
And let's talk scale as well, and scale being defined as adding on associates. I know a lot of docs that listen, watch, and comment and give us feedback are in that season of their career, and whether they're adding the first new associate, whether maybe they've added a team, maybe they brought on a second, third location. Some of our friends are starting to do that, and that always comes with more doctors, right? And that's more mouths to feed, and it's more revenue that needs to come in to get to that minimum viable monthly income. So the break-even point to financial freedom becomes higher because you've taken on more expenses. Now, the goal of that is that expense is not an expense, but actually an investment. It's only an expense when you're unable to have the systems, processes, and tools necessary to make it what it should be, again, which is an investment. But investment by definition, you put money in and it's creating more than you're putting in. And unfortunately, that's probably many docs listening and watching right now are laughing and crying because they're like, man, wouldn't that be nice? And the answer is it can be, it should be, and it is for many people. And if it's not for you, chances are you just haven't put some of the puzzle pieces together. So in my opinion, the email list, the patient list that a doctor has is the best and should be the first place that they go if you have an associate. Now, if the associate's not working out, it might be time to change things up. But I'm going to go into the assumption it's a great doc with a great relationship. You have everything set up. You're just a little slow on the patients, right? And often that's where there could be a disconnect because there's maybe pressure for the associate to go out. They get resentful because that's not what they signed up for. Or the doc starts spending more in their paid advertising and they see that, well, now I'm actually spending more, getting less, and it's not enough. And that can become super frustrating on their behalf, and that leads to a breakdown. And then the practice suffers because either the associate goes away on their own accord, maybe they're let go, maybe a portion of the business is sold off to them. But the bottom line is the goal of having them in the initial, when you hired them, was not that. It was to build and grow your business. But as a byproduct of not being able to do that, it ends up in a fractured relationship. Relationship aside, if we just take it to the business aspects of this, in my opinion, tapping into that email list, that patient list, is the most obvious way to assist the growth of an associate, which only comes back to you as the business owner.
One of the most popular statements we make at the Smart Chiropractor is that your patient email list is your most valuable asset. And the way we know that is because if you were going to go buy a practice, you would ask yourself that simple question. If you went to go buy a practice that's been open for a period of time, the first question you would ask is, how many people are there that I have the potential to reach to bring back into my practice if I were to buy this practice? That's what you're buying, okay? You wouldn't buy a practice that was open for 15 minutes for any high value. I mean, maybe you'd go, okay, I'll give you the equipment price, I'll give you the lease, and I'll give you a few bucks for the effort to put. But if you want value in your practice, it's for exactly this number one value. Look at all the years I've been in practice. Look at all the people I've taken care of over those years. If you buy my practice, you could be reaching all of them. That's the mindset of buying a practice, and that's how you really determine the value. Part of it is based on last year's revenue, but if last year's revenue was $500,000 and you were in practice 1 year versus last year was $500,000 and you've been in practice for 20 years, that's a different business. And so the message for chiropractors is to start paying attention to the most important, we've called them MVPs. They're your most valuable people, most valuable patients, most profitable people, most profitable patients. And 100% of chiropractors are ignoring them if they're not our clients. And that's pure craziness, because it is the most valuable, easiest place, if you were buying a practice, if you're selling a practice, to be able to say, here's the thousands of people that we communicate with weekly, and we have demonstrated that by communicating with them weekly, here is what you can consistently count on as a reactivation measure to reach your net momentum, to decrease the stress of needing new ones, so that on autopilot, patient pilot on autopilot, people just keep on coming back. Why? Because they're going to leave. Not everybody stays. That's just human nature and how it works. If they're going to leave, you need systems to get them back. If you want to make your practice easier, more profitable, more fun, and experience more freedom, then check out Patient Pilot's weekly reactivation emails to pilot more of your past patients back into your practice. Check them out at thesmartchiropractor.com.